Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
We're joined now by Dr. Liza Schuster, a sociologist at City University, who has spent nearly 4 years in Afghanistan researching the impact upon people forcibly repatriated. And from Westminster, the Conservative MP Johnny Mercer, who sits on the Defence Select Committee and himself served 3 tours in Afghanistan as an army officer. Dr. Schuster, can we start then with your experience on the ground? Collectively, can you give us a sense of what happens to people who are forcibly repatriated?
When people are returned back, they're usually returned back to Kabul, in that it's generally accepted that Kabul is the safest place to be returned. I would dispute that, but currently that's the situation. People are returned back to Kabul. The overwhelming majority of people who are returned are not from Kabul. A certain number have never even been to Afghanistan. They've grown up in exile in Pakistan or in Iran. The others are from the provinces outside of Afghanistan, but the Home Office argues that even if it's not safe for them in Helmand or in Nangarhar, they have the option of resettling and reintegrating into Kabul. However, the research that I've conducted over the last 4 years, which has involved interviewing over 100 people, speaking to many families, has shown that approximately 80% of those who are forcibly returned leave again. The vast majority within 6 months, but certainly all of those that I've spoken to have left within 2 years.
So out of that 100, how many have stayed?
3 have successfully reintegrated. And
how?
They were people who had family in Kabul and who had resources. One set up a chicken restaurant, one went back to university, and the other managed to set up a small business.
Johnny Mercer, it is very clear that the war in Afghanistan is very far from over. Indeed, it's getting worse. And as we pointed out, more civilians have been killed in this last year than at any time since the war began. Is it really sensible? Is it even just to be sending people, particularly people who were children when they came here, back to Afghanistan?
John, there's two clear things that I would say to that. One is that there are areas of Afghanistan that are safe, and it depends how you define that term safe, much as you would define what success looks like on military operations over there. And secondly, if you are going to rebuild the country, which is what we're looking to do, and what we've done everything over the last 9-10 years to give Afghanistan that opportunity to rebuild, you cannot take some of their best people out of that country and expect that country to rebuild. The Home Office do look at every application carefully, and we need to make sure that the right people are staying there to rebuild that country.
But we have taken our own people out of that country. We have taken our own people out. We've left. It's done. And that is not true of the people that we're dealing with in terms of those who wish to return. They do not have the security that we once afforded.
Yeah, they're 2 completely separate issues. You have the British Army who conducted operations in Afghanistan, who are British nationals and came back to this country. The Afghan nationals, that is their country. And ultimately, the only solution in Afghanistan was going to be an Afghan solution. And clearly, there are going to be specific threats against some people who've worked with ISAF forces or wherever that may be, and they're looked at very carefully by the Ministry of Defence and the Home Office. But to simply open
they had to be stopped from sending one back the other day, literally last week. We had to be stopped. The courts had to stop us sending an interpreter back.
These decisions are very difficult, aren't they? They're not going to be black and white. They're going to be very difficult decisions with lots of competing pressures. And you know, 99 times out of 100, I'm sure they are correct. And it's absolutely right.
Well, let's just deal with this safety question.
First of all, it's generally accepted, certainly Minister Balkhi, and it was accepted by the Home Office in a number of refusal letters that I've read, that there are only 3 provinces that are considered safe in Afghanistan. That's Kabul, Panjshir and Bamiyan. Kabul is not safe. I don't know of any other city, certainly there's no city in Europe, where there are multiple attacks every week, suicide attacks, targeted attacks, attacks on buses. In terms of Panjshir, only parts of that province are safe. Bamiyan is the safest, and probably one of the poorest provinces in Kabul, in Afghanistan. But unfortunately, there is no safe way to get to Bamiyan, largely because the 3 main roads that lead to Bamiyan are controlled by the Taliban. I know that. I've passed through those roads. That's for sure. So it's not safe.
Absolutely.
The second problem is, sorry, Mr. Mercer, but you said that 99% of the cases that the Home Office looked at, you were sure that they did it properly. I've read almost 55 refusal letters, and they are full of ignorance about Afghan society, Afghan culture. They are based on outdated reports and misinformation. There is a real problem with Home Office decision-making.
Johnny Mercer.
Well, look, clearly I don't accept that. I've seen for myself the work that goes into these applications, and I'm afraid
They're cut
I
and
don't
paste
accept
jobs.
the premise that you can rebuild a country by people coming out of that country, and the men and the fighting age men and the lawyers and the doctors and so on coming out of that country, and then expect to rebuild that country into something like success looks like. And you say those 3 provinces are declared safe, but you personally don't consider them safe. I think, you know, we really have to define what is safe in Afghanistan, and it is different to what is safe over here.
So
but,
you would
know,
consider it safe to be living in
not...
a city that has multiple bomb attacks? That would be unacceptable in London, unacceptable in any European city.
Yes, but if we were trying to define what safe is, or trying to achieve what mission success is in a place like Afghanistan or Pakistan for that matter, where these challenges are very, very complex, we have to, you know, we're not going to set up London overnight in Afghanistan. We have to be realistic about this, and this
Johnny
is where
Mercer.
we sort of fall down over the understanding of what safe is and what mission success looks
Johnny
like.
Mercer, thank you very much indeed. Dr. Liza Schuster, thank you very much indeed.